The United Kingdom was thrown into unprecedented political and media turmoil last night after Elon Musk, the billionaire entrepreneur and owner of X, formerly Twitter, Tesla, and SpaceX, clashed live on British television with Labour leader and Prime Minister Keir Starmer in a broadcast that quickly spiraled into a global spectacle. The debate, hosted on the BBC and simulcast worldwide via online platforms, had originally been billed as a discussion about technology, free speech, and the future of democracy in the digital age. What began as a seemingly controlled exchange of ideas soon escalated into one of the most combative and dramatic confrontations ever seen on live television, as Musk openly challenged Starmer's credibility, questioned his policies, and accused the UK government of hypocrisy on transparency, innovation, and free speech. Within minutes, clips of the exchange were circulating on X, TikTok, and YouTube, with hashtags such as #MuskVS Starmer and #UKCrisis trending globally. Viewers across Britain were left stunned as the American billionaire repeatedly interrupted and dismantled Starmer's talking points with a combination of sharp data-driven critiques, sarcastic quips, and blunt accusations that the Labour government was suffocating enterprise with bureaucracy and outdated thinking. Starmer, visibly agitated but attempting to remain calm, defended his government's record on economic growth, regulation, and social responsibility. However, Musk's aggressive style, coupled with his massive online following, tilted the debate heavily in his favor in the eyes of millions of viewers. Commentators immediately declared it a historic political moment, with some comparing it to past transatlantic confrontations that shifted public opinion and redefined leadership reputations overnight. As the debate unfolded, the tone shifted from what had initially seemed like a spirited exchange of ideas into something resembling a public takedown, with Elon Musk assuming the role of an unfiltered disruptor while Keir Starmer struggled to defend not only his policies but his authority. At one point, when pressed about Labour's plans to introduce stricter AI safety regulations, Musk dismissed the proposal as a guaranteed innovation killer and accused the British government of being more concerned with appearing responsible than with fostering real progress. He contrasted the UK's approach with what he described as a frontier mentality in the United States and a hyper-competitive push in China, warning that Britain risked becoming irrelevant on the world stage if it continued to strangle its own talent with layers of committees and red tape. The studio audience, initially polite, began to audibly react, some cheering Musk's bluntness, others groaning at the spectacle of a foreign billionaire dressing down a sitting prime minister. Starmer attempted to regain control by pointing to Labour's vision of a balanced, ethical innovation framework that would protect workers while still attracting investment, but Musk pounced again, accusing Starmer of hiding behind vague slogans and bureaucratic doublespeak. What made the exchange particularly damaging for Starmer was the viral immediacy of Musk's commentary. Every sharp remark was clipped, subtitled, and spread across social platforms within seconds, with influencers, podcasters, and political commentators amplifying Musk's soundbites to millions. One especially viral moment came when Musk told Starmer, "If Britain wants to lead the future, it can't have leaders who are stuck in the past." The line drew gasps in the studio and was replayed endlessly online with dramatic music and edits framing Starmer as flustered and ineffective. British newspapers rushed to put out late-night editions, with headlines such as "Musk humiliates Starmer on live TV" and "Prime Minister derailed by tech billionaire." Conservative MPs seized on the opportunity, with one senior backbencher declaring that the broadcast proved Labour had no serious plan for growth, innovation, or international leadership. Meanwhile, Labour supporters accused Musk of grandstanding and undermining the democratic process, framing the billionaire as an outsider meddling in British politics for personal gain. Yet, even among Labour's traditional voter base, there was a growing sense of unease. Many admitted privately that Starmer had looked overwhelmed in the face of Musk's barrage, raising questions about how he might perform against adversaries in future international negotiations. The fallout from the Musk-Starmer confrontation was immediate and explosive, plunging Britain into a political storm that commentators quickly dubbed the UK crisis. Within hours of the broadcast, government officials were forced into damage control mode, as international markets reacted nervously to the perception of instability in the British leadership. The pound briefly dipped in overnight trading as investors speculated whether the confrontation would undermine confidence in Starmer's government. Meanwhile, opposition parties seized the opportunity to hammer Labour, with Conservative leader Rishi Sunak, who has remained active in politics despite losing the 2024 election, posting a pointed message on X: "If the Prime Minister can't handle Elon Musk, how can he handle Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, or global crises?" That single post, shared hundreds of thousands of times, encapsulated the new narrative. Starmer had been exposed as weak, hesitant, and unprepared on the world stage. What made matters worse for Labour was that Musk, unlike a domestic political rival, carried a global celebrity status that transcended traditional party lines. Young voters, entrepreneurs, and ordinary citizens who admired Musk for his innovation and defiance of establishment norms began flooding social platforms with memes, clips, and hashtags mocking Starmer and celebrating Musk's verbal takedown. The spectacle, while criticized by some as shallow and sensationalist, nevertheless shaped public perception more forcefully than Labour's official policy defenses could. Inside Westminster, tensions ran high as Labour MPs debated how to respond. Some urged Starmer to strike back hard, framing Musk as an opportunistic billionaire interfering in domestic affairs for personal gain. Others cautioned against escalating the feud, arguing that attacking Musk would only amplify his message and alienate voters who admired his bluntness. The Prime Minister's press office issued a late-night statement attempting to reframe the exchange as a spirited debate on the future of technology and democracy, but the carefully worded release did little to stem the torrent of criticism. Political analysts noted that Starmer's problem was not just the debate itself but the optics of being overshadowed by a figure who was not even a British citizen. In the words of one political scientist, this wasn't just Musk embarrassing Starmer, it was Musk symbolizing every frustration the public has with establishment politics: slow, scripted, and out of touch. By the following morning, newspaper front pages across the UK carried variations of the same image, a visibly rattled Starmer standing beside a confident, smirking Musk under the blaring headline "Crisis of Leadership." Pollsters reported an overnight dip in Labour's approval ratings, with one Snap survey showing that nearly 40% of respondents believed Starmer had. By the end of the week, the Musk-Starmer showdown had transformed from a viral moment into a full-blown political crisis that analysts suggested could shape the course of British politics for years to come. In Parliament, opposition leaders demanded urgent debates on the Prime Minister's handling of the confrontation, framing it not merely as a PR disaster but as evidence of a deeper weakness in governance. Conservative MPs accused Starmer of projecting incompetence on the global stage, while members of smaller parties such as Reform UK and the Liberal Democrats used the controversy to press their own calls for accountability, transparency, and a rethink of Labour's economic agenda. International leaders, meanwhile, expressed a mix of amusement and concern. French President Emmanuel Macron, when asked about the incident during a press briefing in Paris, joked lightly that Britain seems to have two prime ministers now, Monsieur Starmer and Monsieur Musk. The quip, though intended humorously, underscored a growing unease among allies about the perception of a weakened UK leadership. In Washington, officials were more cautious, emphasizing the need to maintain strong transatlantic ties regardless of media spectacles, but privately acknowledging that Musk's influence over public discourse had created a volatile new dynamic. For Starmer, the challenge was now one of political survival. Advisors urged him to reassert control by launching a high-profile policy initiative that would demonstrate decisiveness and shift attention away from Musk's viral attacks. Plans were quickly floated for a sweeping Innovation and Growth Act, which would provide tax incentives for tech startups while tightening guardrails on AI development. Yet critics dismissed the move as reactive and opportunistic, arguing that it only confirmed the extent to which Musk had forced Labour's hand. On the streets, public sentiment remained divided. In London, small groups of protesters gathered outside Downing Street, some waving placards reading "Musk speaks truth" while others carried signs demanding that billionaires stay out of domestic politics. Polling data painted a bleak picture for Labour. A YouGov survey showed a 10-point drop in Starmer's personal approval rating, with younger voters especially disillusioned by his performance. Even within his own party, whispers of discontent grew louder, with a faction of MPs reportedly discussing whether Starmer remained the right figure to lead Labour into the 2025 general election. By contrast, Musk basked in the attention, posting memes and commentary on X that further stoked the fire. In one post that went viral globally, he shared an image of himself at the debate with the caption, "When you bring facts to a slogan fight." The post received millions of likes and cemented Musk's role not just as a participant in the debate but as a cultural force reshaping its aftermath.